Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm shooting on my laptop because I do not have the tripod. We all feel like we need solitude sometimes, and this is my place where I come and where I'm alone and I have to not think about the society or anything like that. And it's just like, it's peaceful down here. Butterflies everywhere, common daisies, blue snake plants. It's nice out here. I was out here today taking some photographs. Not artistic photographs. I just wanted to document some of the places here in Depot. So that got done. So originally the thought of solitude came to me when I was in 9th grade. So I was actually, my friend got me this game called FIrewatch, right? And it's a very beautiful game. It's about, a place in America called Yellowstone, right? So it's a national park, and there were FIrewatch towers. So what is a FIrewatch tower? It's just basically a tower which has a person stationed in it, and they have to look for fires, right, in the forest. So that's the premise. There is our main protagonist called Henry and he meets this another person called Delilah on the walkie-talkie who is stationed in another FIrewatch tower. So basically what they do is look for fire with this tool called Osborne Firefinder. Is this round thing and you can, you have to look through it, and you have to coordinate two directions of two different FIrewatch towers, and that point is where the fire started. That's how they report the fire, and that was pretty cool to me. And that's when I started to think about solitude, because you have to stay alone in a forest, right? The only person in your contact is this other FIrewatch station, and you don't talk all of the time. It's just like, sometimes when you have something to report, you have to give a daily weather report and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I thought about, finally someone wants to stay in some place and just look out for nature and, just fight fire. Apparently, that did not always work out in the favor of the forest, because after some big wildfires in America, they really got down to, stop fires in American forests. So what they did was they suppressed the fire to such an extent that, it caused much more problem, because, forest needs fires, right? So they, burn out all the old things so it can, regenerate again. But when you have like pile of stuff just lying around again and again without, it being burnt, right? It's like a cycle. The forest has to go through, the forest fire circle for it to regenerate again and again. Anyhow, the idea of solitude began there, and I was just wondering how it would feel to be alone in the forest, and it would be nice to get away from society for a little bit of time and just spend some time alone, realize things. That was the time when I bought this book, right? It's a fire lookout from Oregon, right? Actually, I was very fascinated with Yellowstone, but turns out Yellowstone isn't all that pretty, right? It is very pretty, but according to my views of Oregon, it isn't that pretty. So Oregon was my next choice. The FIrewatch towers. This book has small anecdotes of anecdotes where things happen at the FIrewatch tower. It has good details. There are lots of pictures here. It's just crazy. The second I read this, I got even more fascinated with FIrewatch, watching fires, or being in solitude. It's such a fun thing to experience without even being there. Do you understand? That's what books do basically. You get to experience something without being there or going through it. So I realized that, maybe I wanted to do that too. And I started looking for, FireWatch towers. Maybe there were some in India. Turns out there aren't any, FireWatch towers here in India. So that was fine. I thought, one day I'll go to the Cascades and, look for a Firewatch tower and stay there for a little bit of time. Looks like a far-fetched idea at this point, you know. But this book really got me to thinking about what it means to stay alone, what it means to get away from everything. And it's just a strange feeling because, for a long time, I thought that if I could stay alone, I could get more original ideas and, I could be better at comprehending the world. You get away, you have a reflection of what it was down there in the cities or in the town. And that really fascinated me, actually. And the more I got to thinking about it, the more I wanted to, get away from all of my friends, my family, and I just wanted to sit in my room all day and, just be there. Turns out not the best idea. But one more thing I did was I bought this book. It's called Fire Season, Philip Connors. And he documents his time in a Firewatch tower, which is this is a great book, by the way. And the thing is that I haven't finished the entire book. I bought this 3 years ago at this point. I never finished the book. See, here, this is where I stopped, because my thought was that I'd get to Cascades someday and finish this book there. Looks like not a good possibility. Maybe I'll get to it, soon enough. But most of the book is brilliant. It goes through all the emotions and what it feels to be alone, all that stuff. Turns out there is a lot of this is where I really got into it, right? This is the peak. This is peak solitude, idea of solitude in my head. And he references this one person that keeps coming back on this book, which is one of my favorite authors, Jack Kerouac. So this book is called Desolation Angels. Jack Kerouac is on. If you guys don't know who Jack Kerouac is, he's the pioneer of the Beat generation. On the Road. Most people know On the Road by Jack Kerouac, right? This is one of his books where he writes in a Firewatch tower called Desolation Peak. Now, as the name says, desolation, right? And it's kind of funny that he literally took the desolation and put it just like angels. So Jack Kerouac, right, after having suffered through a lot, right, he decides, you know what, I'm just going to stay somewhere, realize my thoughts, come in contact with God, have a revelation, and come back, right? And that's what he tries to do. He goes to Desolation Peak, looks for that big revelation, enlightenment, as some would call it. At this point, Jack Kerouac is pretty much into, being a Buddhist. He's like, I want to be a Bodhisattva and all of that stuff, which I really like, the idea of it, proper monk mode, but not the, red pill monk mode, if you get what I mean. It's not the, that kind of thing. He just wants to get out of the city, just stay and realize things, write a book, come down, right? But Jack Kerouac does not get to a point where he feels enlightened. In fact, he gets so depressed and goes crazy out of his head on Desolation Peak that it's hard for him to comprehend any of that sort at this point, right? And he just meets his devil, which is himself, right? And I got to think about that, oh shit, what do you mean, you meet your your devil, which is you, when you're in solitude. It really got me thinking, what? I thought, you go out there, have a revelation, come back. Solitude is supposed to do that. You're a monk at that point. It turns out it's not that way. And that happened to me. Some of my friends left me, I left some of my friends, and then I had this period of time, about 3 to 4 months of time, where I used to come in depot, sit alone, read books, drink a little bit of wine, go back home, and And that was like, that was like my desolation peak, right? Depot was my desolation peak. And as much as I fantasize that point of my life right now, I realize that it wasn't the same back in that time. I just felt so afraid of the world. I was, scared that, I'll never have anyone as my friend, or, have a proper connection with the world. It just felt like I was straying away from the world more and more as I got through the months. And I realized, solitude isn't all that, good as people say it on the YouTube. Especially, there is this one video that you should definitely check out. It's by Xuba 2, I guess, and he talks about, the answers are not in the woods, right? It really got me to thinking, right? The more we say, I want to get out of the society, I want to get out from this, this rat race or whatever. I'm not saying be in the rat race. What I'm saying is, once you get out of it, right, the more you realize that, shit, I would rather be in a society, make a change out of it, than just stay alone. Humans are like, social animals, until and unless you are someone like the North Pond Hermit. Shit, I forgot that book at home. Anyhow, the North Pond Hermit, right, is this guy called Christopher Knight, right? Goes out into the woods of Maine, right? And he just never appears. He just like, he's not entirely out of the society because he keeps stealing from people in Maine, and like people have like different theories about who is stealing their stuff from their homes or like, outhouses, only to realize like 26 years later that there was this guy, Christopher Knight, stealing all of their stuff just to stay in the woods. And he had terrorized Maine, not intentionally, obviously. He just wanted to be out of the society. I mean, maybe he had some, condition. I wouldn't say he's like, absolutely mental to do that. I would do that if I could. Like at that point, I would do that. To get out of the society when life feels like, it's all just falling apart. I would do that too. But that's the thing. I realized that, solitude is not always so good as people portray it. Or like, you could be that monk and, just realize stuff and be out there. Without having to come into contact with society again. And that is just so mind-blowing to me, because my personal experience with like solitude was horrible, because I was just putting my pints down, staying alone, thinking these horrible things about the world. That thing always happens because we are so inclined to believe in the negative parts of the world, and not always think or care about the positive parts of the world. It's always like that. We are more curious to know who got into an accident or who got murdered than someone doing a charity work or planting trees. It's always like that. I'm not blaming you, I'm not blaming myself. Like, it's just human nature at this point. But the realization of that solitude isn't all that good came at a very huge cost to me. Staying alone, not talking to any of my friends, got me into this place where I was just piling out my frustration about the world into this huge stack, which would obviously fall at some point and would break me down entirely. That happens. Like, you just bottle up all the bad feelings inside you, and you have no one to talk to, so you're just this ticking time bomb waiting to blast. And that's what happened to me. All these negative thoughts that I had in my head, it just kept piling on and on and on, until one day I just had to cry to get it all sorted out. And I had to call one of my old friends and just tell them like, this is how I feel. And that crying part, right, was so relieving that I could tell my bothers to someone. Like, something is bothering and you've got to tell it to someone. It lightens up your burden. And that's when I realized, shit, I do need people. Everyone needs people. Someone who they can trust, someone who they can, feel comfortable with, and that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to touch up upon, like, that being alone. I know some people will say that, being alone isn't all that bad. It is not all that bad. I had some good times with myself, right? But that's not the point. Staying alone all of the time does not make sense to me, but staying with the society all of the time does not make sense to me either, because you need some. It's like I keep coming back to this. I really got into playing Four Suits or Spider Solitaire, right? And the point of the game is to make this one empty slot where you can reshuffle everything and put things in, like, proper way, right? You have to sort things out, but you need to have that one space, right? You have to clear out that deck so you can, like, reshuffle and make things in sequence, right? I realize that everyone needs that empty slot in their life, right? You need that space so you can vent out what has been piling on, so you can reshuffle your thoughts and get the sequence right, which means having a good feeling about life instead of always being in misery and complaining about it. You just need this empty space. So I realized that empty space is two things. One is that your good relationship with the world, which is like, having good friends, having good family, making your thoughts, sorting your thoughts out. That's what it is, right? Second thing is doubting your existing beliefs, right? This is very important to a lot of philosophers, because without a doubt, I'm not saying be a cynic. I'm saying you need to doubt your pre-existing thoughts or your pre-existing beliefs, because without that you're just blindly buying into whatever is being fed into you. It's like the way that people say that you get fed what you believe in constantly online, right? Because they just know that you will watch this stuff and they're going to make more money out of it, instead of actually giving you novel ideas. But there is this also one thing of novelty does not stay novel if you just keep chasing novelty all of the time. It gets so basically novel becomes unnovel at a point, right? It's like people want to settle down eventually, at least. I know 20s are the hardest times in our lives. I'm 22 and it's pretty hard. I still have to figure out my life, what job I'm going to have, what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Am I ever going to get married, have kids? And all of that stuff is just getting piled onto this 22-year-old, which is fine, which it gets depressing sometimes, because you look at the world and it's just like crumbling down. But again, that's the negative aspect of it, which we keep talking about again and again. So yeah, having that space in life to shuffle out, and I'm telling you that is also solitude, right? That empty space that you can reshuffle things, right? That's also solitude, because to have novel ideas you do need solitude. You need to get out of the noise, right? You need to think about it for yourself instead of like always buying into people's ideas. I get that, but once you just have empty spaces, now this is where it comes to like I'm tying and this is the bow, right? Shit, what's happening, right? So the thing is that once you have that solitude space, the game of Spider Solitaire does not actually, you do not win it if you always have empty slots, because you have these other cards, other deck that has to pile on it for you to complete the sequence. So it needs to be filled out at some point, right, to have the new decks come in. So I just realized that solitude is not always good, because you need these series of piles coming onto you again, so you can again reshuffle them, right? Because life is constantly putting things on you. Life is always a little bit miserable if you think about it. You have new problems every day, new philosophical questions, new political ideas. It's just crazy. So you do need that a reshuffle, but always having that empty space does not work out, does not help you out all of the time. Coming back to solitude, I think I've strayed away from my actual point here, which is fine. I love like just running my train of thought somewhere, like running two parallels and the other train is going somewhere else. That's fine. The thing about solitude is it's good to a certain extent. All the cliches that our parents tell us is kind of right. They tell too much of anything is bad, right? Most of the cliches are true, by the way, right? So I realized that having solitude all of the time could be just as bad as staying in the society all of the time, being in the noise all of the time. And it's just, you start appreciating these small, sorts of slots of, emptiness or solitude when you have noise, right? What's the point of being happy in a happy world when everyone is happy all of the time? You kind of lose importance of happiness, right? Just like that with solitude, it is good, but all of the time, I don't know, maybe it's for some people, maybe it's for like, Northbound Hermit, or Christopher McCandless, who ended up very bad, by the way. Do not recommend it. Especially in cold regions, you do not go out, like, try to live alone. That's stupid. But I do get it, why people just feel like they want to go out in the woods. I do get that. I've thought about it so many times. I'm like, after 30, I'm just going to go back to village and like, stay, just chill out, away from the city. But one of my friend, he told me like that could not be the best case for you, because you're a town boy, like you pretty much have what cities have. So having that transition does not always work out for you. Yeah, it does not work out that way. The thing is that the same point, excess of anything is bad. So guys, I highly this is not actually a book review, but I would really recommend. Desolation Angels is not for first readers of Jack Kerouac, because it's very confusing. He has his stream of consciousness, and he just like is all over the place. He calls it something else, which is fine, but it's pretty much stream of consciousness, and he's just all over the place on this book. So he goes into his dream parts where or his past, and it's always confusing. So the first read was definitely not easy. So if you're going for Jack Kerouac, don't go for this. Maybe try something out like On the Road. Better than On the Road for the first ones. Big Sur is a very good book, but again it comes like a series. Jack Kerouac has his own series where it's like an installments. So Big Sur could be the start for you. Or if you really want to get like, if you're really into classics, go for Town and City. One of the best books by Jack Kerouac, very underrated. Not a lot of people have read it, and I feel that it's one of his best works. It does not have stream of consciousness. It's like single, a straight story. It is a chronicles of like this one family. It's very good, especially if you read classics. It's going to be very easy for you. Second thing, really want to get into like solitude stuff. This is the book. If you're interested in FIrewatch, even like mildly, this is the book for you. I don't know if a lot of people who played the FIrewatch game know about this book, but it's really, really well done. Another thing, if you want to know more about the history of Fire Lookout Towers, this is the book. And another thing, want to really actually think about what Northbound Hermit was thinking about, you can read The Man in the Woods. It's a brilliant non-fiction. It really gets into heavy depth of how a human works, though we never get to understand why Northbound Hermit did it, or for what reason he went out into the woods, but it encapsulates pretty much most of the feelings of Northbound Hermit. A really good book. I think I guess I have to go now. My dad was calling me. Maybe I have to run down to the business. It is a Sunday. It's fine. It's a little hot now, but all right, guys. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.